I'm so glad you made it out to Easter service. But you know, I was sitting there, right in the second row there, and just looking around and just listening, and you know, I thought, wow, I was part of this church here. And the church has done so well here. There's been so many great things. I mean, you sent out Denver. Come on, guys. I mean, it's incredible what has happened here. You sent us out. You accepted the Hardings here. And it's so funny. When they move, we move. Isn't that funny? They move in June, we move in June. You don't find that funny? That's okay. Because hopefully today, the passages will help you to be a little lighthearted. Because I feel like there's a heaviness in the church here with our hearts. And you know what? That's all right. Sometimes I have a heavy heart. And sometimes I have a light heart. But today we have a heavy heart. That's all right. But by the end of the scriptures that I read here today, you're going to have a light heart. Because hopefully your mindset and your heart set will change. That's why the title of my sermon today is The Resurrection Changed Everything. You know, it's awesome to know Ron and Tracy for so long. They truly, Ron is the one that helped me come back to the new movement. I've shared the story many times. He drove up from Orange County to my office. At that time, I had a company, and he sat in my office, in the big old office, in my desk, and he was sitting on the other side, and he just kept reaching out to me. He was really prideful. I was really humble. And no, it was the other way around, absolutely. But he really just encouraged me so much, and he helped me tremendously. If it wasn't for him, I honestly would not be here, and I'm so grateful to him. And I have a debt of gratitude to him. Every time I'm just super grateful. And Tracy, we know each other for 22 years. What else can I say? You know, I know her for 22 years. I'll share stories while we're doing the lesson here. But it is awesome to be here. Let's start over here in Mark 8. Now, I know that I've been talking to some of you, and it's just great to hear your lives, to hear what God has been doing with you, and what God is going to do with you. And I'm grateful for that. And right here in Mark 8, we're going to read a passage, and I think this will encourage you and help you out a little bit. Amen? All right, here we go. Verse 31. He then began to teach that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed, and after 3 days rise again. Now we realize here that Jesus was letting the guys know, hey, I'm going to die. Yeah, that's exactly the spirit of the group when he said, I'm going to die. It's like, okay. It's kind of like when we had to announce a few months ago to the Santiago church, hey guys, we're moving. What do you mean you're moving? We're moving. Because the Lord is moving us. And you know what? If you understand what God is doing and His plan, you'll be behind it. Yeah. But when you don't understand His plan, and when you let your emotions take over, then your emotions have taken over. And you know, there's a problem with that. Because your emotions change every 2 minutes. Oh yeah. Now you're all fired up. See? So you're so easy. You're sheep like me. We're just, you know, we're sheep. I mean, I was in Santiago, and I was driving. I don't know where we were, and there's these sheep were crossing the street. There's no other car, nothing going on. The sheep are just like, hey, what's up? We're just crossing the street, you know? And they're just looking around, and they look at us, and they pull up next to the car, and they look at me, and I go, sheep, get out of the way. Sheep, move. And they're just like, hey, what's up? What are you doing out here? And they finally ended up moving. I thought, what's these sheep? And I thought, well, that's me right there. That is totally me. I'm just like that sheep. And it's true. But right here, Jesus is predicting, and not number, he's saying, listen, guys, this is what's going to happen to me. But then, You see Peter right here in verse 13. He spoke plainly about this, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. They were so upset. How can you move? What are you doing? How could you leave us? That is not going to happen to you. But when Jesus turned and looked at his disciple, he rebuked Peter. Get behind me, Satan. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concern. You know, I think we are so humanistic. We're focused on the human concerns here. Oh, what am I losing? Gosh, what am I giving up? You know, it's hard to move as it is hard to stay. You think it's easy to move? You think it's easy to move out of Santiago? I love those people. You think it was easy to move out of D.C.? Let me tell you, when I drive around here, I'm like, oh, man. Somebody asked me, when are you coming back? When the Lord wills it. I don't know where I'll be. Kim said, you're going to be there 10 years in Santiago. 3 years later, bro, we need you to move to Mexico. Whoa. Okay, well, guess what? We're moving to Mexico. And the deal is, yes, my wife is Mexican. She was not born in Mexico. She was born in the States, but she comes from Mexican descent, and I'm originally from El Salvador. And now some of the brothers ask me, do you still remember how to speak English? I said, bro, come on, man. Once you understand why things happen, we really don't. You know, sometimes I go, okay, why did I see that? I did not want to see that. Now I got to deal with it in my head. Okay, I don't get that, God. What? That disciple is crazy. You ever thought that? Okay, am I the only disciple that's ever thought, okay. I mean, you know, yesterday we were out at breakfast with Ron, and you know, Ron's half white, half black. And, you know, but he's like white, you know what I mean? And yesterday we're sitting there and he goes, holler. And wait, he's going to try to change the story. But he said holla, or whatever he said. So I took a picture of him. I said, here, bro, I have proof you said holla. And I thought, wow, things are changing here up in D.C. Things are really changing. You're not supposed to talk with the preacher while he's preaching, okay? But see, now he's really being black. Now stop talking to the preacher, okay? So here's the deal. And Rob's struggling. So the fact is, guys, we need the risen Jesus. We really do. We're a mess, guys. I mean, we really are. But without the risen Jesus, what are we going to do? Where will you and I be? I thank God for my wife every day. I mean, my wife, she is awesome. She is so good to me. It's amazing that she's still with me. Because I'm not an easy person to be with. And I'm going to ignore that. And she loves God, and she loves me, and she stays by my side. And you know what? I'm just super grateful for her. But it's only, we were talking, Jack and Jeannie, yesterday, we said, gosh, we would never be together if it wasn't for Jesus. Because we're both hot-tempered, we're both Latinos, and we both think we're right. You got a wife like that, brothers? Okay. I'm just grateful that even though we think those things, we submit to the risen Jesus and therefore submit to one another. Isn't that awesome? Think about the friendships we have here in the church. Think about the fact that we get to worship together. Gosh, the singing was so awesome today. I thought Simon and Ruth, oh, man, that was hot. They were just amazing. They're pouring out their hearts. He's going, and he's singing, and she's singing. I'm going, man. And then she got out of breath. Oh, man, I thought, she just poured out her whole heart. You know what? We need to pour out our whole heart for the Lord. And we need to go, I just poured out my whole heart. You know what Ron and Tracy need from you? Your hearts. He's trying to make it look like, oh yeah, I'm moving, it's going to be fine. He's a mess inside. I know, because I'm a mess. I'm like hurting. And you think, wow, yeah, you're staying here, sure, and you're hurting too. But what, we just walk around hurting, just hurting and not talking and just acting weird and withdrawing, and that's weird to me. We need to stop that. We need to say, you know what, I love you. I'm going to miss you. Say it, honey, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you so. You're like, Herbert? Herbert I appreciate Herbert so much. Because you know what? The minute I see him, he comes, bro, I just want to say, I love you, I miss you. I'm so grateful for you. Do you know, that just moves my heart. Because I go, this man understands the risen Jesus, and I need love too. It's not just, because as leaders, we're always pouring our hearts, pouring. And then we have people that are moving out of Santiago, and it hurts us. It's so painful. It's like, don't leave, please. But they're leaving. But we got to go, you know what? We got to let them go. And you got to understand something here, because look what it says here in verse 17. Look what Jesus says to them. It says, do not hold on to me. Listen, guys, stop holding on to people. They're not your people. They're not your leaders. Come on, bro. We're all the risen Jesus people. This church does not belong to Ron and Tracy. Yep. Santiago does not belong to Lucy and I. It belongs to God. But when you have the right perspective, you'll be spiritual about it. But when you have a sinful perspective, it's the empty tomb. I don't have anything. What is going on? What have you done for me lately, God? Show me something. Give me something. He already has. He died on the cross and he was risen. Enough said. But here he says, listen, do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am ascended to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God. Notice he doesn't say our God, our Father. He separates them and says, listen, he understands what it's like to only be focused on God and not make it about us. He said, my God and your God. Because he understood that he has to keep that personal relationship with God at all times, no matter what's happening. As disciples, you're going to get hurt. And I don't know about you, but if we continue to have a shallow approach with God, you will be a shallow disciple. And I think our contemporary conceptions of God are far too shallow. We think of God, that's my buddy, that's my buddy. That's my pal. God is my bellboy. Let me tell you something. God is not your buddy. God is not your bellboy. And God is absolutely not your pal. He's your creator. Think about it. Don't you respect? It's funny how when you go to museums and somebody's created something, you're like, wow, who did that? Well, so-and-so. Well, I really want to meet the creator of that. You're pumped up. You're like, wow, this is the person, and they bring them over and you're like, wow, how long did it take you to do that? That was amazing. Tell me about that. Wow. So tell me how you did it. Well, what were you thinking? See, if we thought like that, how would we view other disciples? Wow. God created him? Wow. He did such a great job with you. Amazing. And the person doesn't even like themselves. But the fact is, you're pointing out God because that's their creator. See, we need to be reverent as disciples. We need to be disciples that worship with reverence. Yes, you know what? It's okay to laugh sometimes. It's okay to do all that. But don't forget to be reverent, ever. Last point, and I'll be done very shortly here. Point number 3, go in peace. You know, peace, that's a hard word for me. I'm not a peaceful man. I just really am not. Internally, outside, I'm just not a man of peace. And I looked up the word because I have to, let me figure this out. And in English, the word peace, it really does conjure up passive. You know, when we think of peace, we think, hi. A brother or a sister that walks around, peaceful, peace, 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 peace. I mean, it's just, that's what we think of. Or we think of somebody that's just, just chilling all the time, and that has nothing to do with peace. Peace basically means to be sound and live well for the Lord. Wow. What do you mean to be sound? Matthew 6, do not worry about anything. Because when you're worried, you're not sound. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to do it. I got to pay the bills. I got to do it. But when you're sound, you know what? The Lord's going to take care of it because I know the risen Jesus. And he told me to go in peace, and that's what I got to do. So peace is a hard thing here. But let's read on here in verse 24, see what happens. See, now Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, we have seen the Lord. But he said to them, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe. A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Through the door, though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. Interesting here that right here, the disciples deserve a rebuke. Jesus should have come and say, what are you doing? I'm going to lay you out. You know how we talk. I'm going to lay it. He wouldn't have said it like that. He just laid him out. But instead, he says, peace be with you. And see, we don't talk like that. Bro, I got a problem. Let's sit down and talk about it. I'm your counselor now, and I'm going to help you. No, you're not a counselor. Bring me back to the Bible. Brother, peace be with you. You need to have peace in your heart, and you don't right now. You're struggling. And there's so much, even though we're sad, we don't have hearts that are peaceful. It was great hanging out with Jack and Jeannie, and we haven't been able to hang out with them for a while now, and just to see them and talk to them and hear everything that's happened in their lives. And I just thought, wow, that is so intense. I mean, we got to see Jonathan, give him a hug, and it was just so good for my heart to see him. Originally, I had studied the Bible with him, so I know him. And it was just so good for my heart, but it was so good to talk, just to hear out Jack and Jean, just what's happening here. And I'm just really grateful for them, and I've been very grateful for them for a long time, but I just thought, wow, they have really fought through this to get closer to God. And you know what? It's bringing a peace in Jack that I've never seen. And I go, wow, that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. And you know what? Everybody wants peace. Well, you want peace. Oh, I want peace in this country. How about peace for you, between your relationship and God? Let's start there first. Okay, let's get that going here. And you know what? This needs to be a peaceful time here in the church. Sound, and we need to live well. We need to baptize. Come on. The Bible in Matthew 28, Jesus had it all planned out for them. He said they'd go and make disciples of all nations. But right before that, he says, all authority has been given to me. And, I've read that 100 million times, and I thought, well, yeah, I know all authority. You have all the authority. Amen. But I thought about it recently. I go, you know what? He has all authority. I mean, that means he's over me. He's in charge of me. It's like your boss. Because they're paying you money, you'll do whatever they say. You go to work, you're like, I want you to start coming at 8:30. Okay, no problem. You pay me, I pay my rent. I'll come here at 8:30. And the reason we don't do what we need to do, what the Bible calls us to do, is because Jesus doesn't have an authority in that part of your life. So I want you to figure out, what part of my life does Jesus not have an authority? He doesn't have an authority in making disciples? We should be evangelizing every day.
Come on, bro. Yeah.
I mean, that's just part of our lives. It's like, brushing your teeth. I was kind of taking it back to some of the single brothers, but I go, no, okay. It's like brushing your hair. It's like just basic stuff. Evangelism, you don't need to map it out. I'm going to evangelize. No, it's part of my life. It's kind of like, man, I didn't evangelize. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's like not brushing my teeth. I was stinking up the whole office. This is terrible. I didn't have anybody to church on Easter Sunday. Oh man. Because I'm so focused on that empty tomb that I'm about to get, or that I have right now, that I couldn't see the risen Jesus, and I'm not at peace. And I'm not at peace. Now is the time when you need to give more than you ever have. Acts 2 talks about a generous church. They were so generous, they were selling properties, they were selling houses, and it was awesome. And they also baptized 3,000 people. Just in the middle of it, 3,000 people. It's awesome. But you know why they were able to baptize 3,000 people? Because they were a generous church, not only with their money. See, some of us feel like we can just give our money, and I'm generous, but I'm not going to give my heart. I'm not going to give any love. No, you got to be generous with your love. Yep. We need to become that generous church in every single area of our lives. It's amazing the sadness, how it's taken us over here. Listen, things are going to happen. We're in a spiritual battle. And some people are going to be taken out by Satan. Some people, God is going to say, you're out. That's scary. But we got to understand that those are the times that we don't go in a hole in the empty tomb and go, you know what? I'm not doing anything more. Look, I'm going to get hurt again. No, it is time to give more now. It's amazing today, guys. I mean, I'm pouring out my heart here. I don't need a come on, Carlos. I need your hearts. I need to feel the fire of the DC International Christian Church. Guys, that is not fire. That is a lukewarm church. Let's get it on fire right now, guys. I mean, we need you. The battle is still going. It hasn't stopped. But we need you. So right here, the thing that Jesus says is, peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. See, it's all about sending. That's what our spiritual walk is about, sending. It's so funny. I heard the Chapmans up here sharing, and she doesn't want me to talk about this, but I'm going to. And she was saying, yeah, you're in my house, and the whole deal. And I thought, God, I remember that, though. Last time I remember that heart back in the day when I went to North Carolina to visit, to try to pull him out of the fire. I remember Jackie, and I thought, I even talked to Eric. I said, is Jackie all right? I mean, she's struggling with something. What's up? And I remember, and I thought, wow. And then Jackie's sharing up here again, and I told her, what happened, Jackie? That was, how many years ago was that? She said, well, I'm working through it, bro. I'm learning and growing. And I thought, you know what? We need to stop learning and growing. We need to repent.
There you go.
That's the bottom line. And I know you wanted me to fire up a happy Easter lesson. Well, I'm happy, and today's Easter, and I'm doing the lesson. Happy Easter lesson. That's the bottom line. Happy Easter lesson. Wow, I'm going to write that down. That's pretty good. You know, Philippians talks about not be anxious about anything. You know, all we could do right now, guys, is just go in prayer and just pray to God and say, you know what, God, I just need you right now. I can't do this without you. I need you. You know, in John 14, let's go there.
Come on, bro.
In verse 27, and Ron's giving me the look without giving me the look. I know when he's giving me the look without him even looking at me because I know him, you know. He's like one of those moms, you know those moms that give you the look without giving you the look, and they're just like this? And I know. Chapter 14, verse 27, look what he says. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. DC Church, do not be afraid. But one thing you got to understand, peace only comes from God. The key is right here, because you can't say, I'm going to do all these things. Oh yeah, I'm going to work out. Get it all out. Then I'm going to feel peaceful after I finish working out, pumping iron. Oh man, I'm done working out. You know what? You don't feel any peace. You're like, I got to go pump up some more. You don't feel peace, because peace only comes from God. You want to be peaceful? Pray. And right here, Jesus says, I give you my peace. Here, he's giving it to us, but we don't take it. You're like, no, I want to worry. Don't give me that peace. I want to worry. I really want to be stressed out. I love being stressed out. You know, look at me. I'm a mess, but I love living this way. Jesus, stop giving me peace. And that's how we do it. Because our perspective is, the tomb is empty. Where is Jesus? Instead of saying, the risen Jesus. So what is your perspective of life? What is your perspective of your quiet times? What is your perspective at work? What is your perspective today? What is your perspective of everything? Is it the empty tomb, I have nothing? Or is it Jesus is risen? Come on. And I want you to think this way now. What's my perspective? And I want you today to walk out of here and leave in peace. To God be the glory.